So I had no idea the internet even existed until I went to college. The thing I knew that existed, and this is where I kind of got lucky in terms of like as in terms of when I grew up and when I came of age, is I came of age sort of precisely at the moment when the PC happened. And so I was aware of, there were all these just like amazing stories. This is when Steve Jobs was on the cover of Time magazine, and so there was this moment when like the personal computer hit the popular consciousness, and that was it was sort of built in the late 70s, and then it sort of it sort of catalyzed hard in the early 80s, especially around 82. And then, our school, even though it was very small, started to get, a handful of early computers. And then there were a wave of consumer computers at that time, actually, that were actually quite inexpensive. And so there were computers at that time as cheap as $200 in currency at that point,
and this was floppy disk. So this is pre-hard drive or post-hard drive when you got your first computer?
Pre-floppy disk?
Tape. Cassette tape.
Cassette tape, exactly.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes.
That's a slow loader, bro. Take
Yes.
an hour to load a game. I remember that era.
Yeah, so for people who don't remember, but before floppy disks, there were because you would literally hook up a cassette tape player, and the thing with the cassette tape player is it didn't have any kind of seek capability, right? And so the way that you loaded the program was you had to fast forward by hand to the right point of the tape.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're always at risk of if you're going to write to the tape, you wrote a program, you wanted to write it onto the tape, you ran the risk you were going to overwrite, something in the past.
Yeah.
And then there was this really fundamental trade-off. If you didn't have a lot of money, it's this very fundamental trade-off, which is you could buy a short cassette tape that was high quality.
Yeah.
And would store a small amount of stuff, or you could buy a inexpensive, you could buy the same price, you could buy a cassette tape that was much longer and could record a lot more, but at much lower quality. And that mattered because the lower quality tapes frequently you actually would not be able to read back what you had written. And so there was a real quality quantity trade-off.
Yeah, it was a little gambling exercise.
Exactly. And then so we didn't have the internet, but we had no exposure to the internet. We'll talk about the internet prehistory in a little bit, but we didn't have that. What we did have, what was happening at that time was what were called BBSs, which is acronym for bulletin board systems. And the third way to think about these is BBSs were kind of pre social networks in a way. But this is pre-internet, and so the way this would work is the host of a BBS would literally set up a set of modems in their house or apartment to often like 8 or 12 or 20 or something to sort of to take incoming calls from people with remote computers, and then you in theory could dial into BBSs, and you just literally used a modem and you dialed into the phone number for the BBS. And then if you got on the BBS, it was really cool because you had access to, early versions of like email and social networking and user profiles and bulletin boards and classified ads and, downloading games and playing games and so forth. And so it's kind of, pre-internet, pre-AOL, kind of versions of these things. The problem that I had was, again, rural Wisconsin, long distance phone calls are $1 a minute. There are no BBSs in my town. And so I read about BBSs. I actually don't, to this day, I think I never actually used one because I couldn't afford it. But and by the way, also this is also predates broadband, and so this was when I first started on this stuff. This was this was actually pre-modem as we understand it today. So the form of the modem at the time was what's called an acoustic coupler, and so you take your old-fashioned telephone handset and you literally put it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I remember those. Yeah, right.
In the two rubber cups, and then it literally is like the audio. It's literally using your handheld phone as the receive transmit for the audio signals. And so the acoustic coupler modems were 300 baud. Yeah. So 300 bits per second.
Yes, and so noisy, very very noisy 300 baud. Yeah.
Yeah, very noisy, exactly. So, very very slow, very slow. So but you could kind of get a glimpse. I would say the romance of the personal computer at that point was very clear, and that's what really got me was and basically the way that you'd bought a computer, you plugged it into your TV set in those days, and what happened was you got injected into the basic programming language interpreter, and what that showed up as is it literally the screen would say ready, and then there was a cursor, and it was this for kind of kids my age, it was this invitation to basically do anything. Right. And so it was this kind of great moment where you just kind of felt like the future was like in front of you. And then there were all this became a pop kind of culture thing. And so there were all these books and magazines, that you could buy or subscribe to that, had all these, you literally subscribed to, hobbyist magazine for whatever kind of computer you had. And it would literally have printouts in the magazine of programs that you could actually sit and type into your computer, type into the basic prompt and make work. And so there was this incredible sense of adventure for what you could do on a computer. And then there was this additional thing out there, which was, wow, like if you could afford it, you could be on BBSs and you could talk to other people. And so they kind of had that network thing from the beginning. It's just the economics at the time was not feasible to have it be a mass market thing.